Hello everyone, welcome to FilmDirt. I'm back to talk about this documentary, and not just any documentary. It covered an amazing concept which never saw the light of day. Now, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, because yes, of course, it's the whole weird scenario of seeing Nicolas Cage play Superman. Now, surely every film fan knows the whole story about a Superman concept that was being developed by Tim Burton, who of course directed the Keaton Batman films to great success. As it turned out, Michael Keaton was absolutely outstanding, and he was going to try and strike lucky twice by casting Nicolas Cage as Superman. Of course, not the conventional choice. The whole image of Superman is a guy, good looking, 6 foot plus, chiseled out of granite, like he just walked off of a comic book page, those exaggerated drawings defining muscles and unreal attractiveness. Now, I like Nicolas Cage, but he doesn't fit into that whole concept, does he? Now, this documentary, I believe, was an independent crowd-funded project by John Schnepp, and long-term viewers of film review channels will no doubt have seen John Schnepp back in the day commenting on movies. I think he was on a couple of channels. I know Collider was one. And I just remember him popping up quite frequently, and I always found that I agreed with his opinions. And that's when I first heard of him tackling this mythical Superman Lives project. What on earth was it? We've heard very little about it. But it was always something we heard about here and there, not sure whether to believe it could actually be true. I remember the Christopher Reeve movies so well, and he was the template, if you like, wasn't he? He was that image of Superman, both in look and in character. And back then it was very difficult to imagine anyone else taking that part. I don't mean to diminish Dean Cain's contribution, I thought he was great as well, but it's just about the movies for me. So Superman Lives was supposed to come out, I believe it was either 97 or 98. But to imagine Tim Burton being successful with one type of character, mainly a dark themed character like Batman, suddenly taking on Superman, which we're used to Chris Reeve playing, always seemed very strange. Tim Burton's going to have to pull something out of the bag to even match what we enjoyed previously. And I think John Schnepp has really done well all the resources he could possibly get hold of. All the people that worked on it with something to reveal, he's managed to find. Not only interviews, but concept art. He's even got hold of models, photos and even video of Nicolas Cage in the suit. He's brought us a real treasure trove of revelations of what could have been. Now, when this documentary was released in 2015, we'd already had a lot of Superman projects as played by other actors, so we were used to, the quick change conveyor belt of casting. And all those actors all had that similar Superman look. There's always one odd one out, Nicolas Cage, wasn't there? And if we're all honest, if we asked ourselves whether we wanted to see a Nick Cage Superman, we'd say absolutely. It could have been a one-off, no sequel. It'd just be one of those oddball films even Tim Burton had done before. He's done Mars Attacks, and that's got that kind of oddly interesting aspect about it. Watching this documentary, I think it was about halfway through when it was becoming clear to me why they cancelled it. It seemed that they had all these concepts and models and artwork and this skull ship and all these aliens and the giant spider brainiac thing. A lot of ideas visually, but nothing much about a story. Not something that we could actually piece together and figure out where this adventure would take us. And for a film to have any longevity, it has to have a decent story. And it's making me think that the top brass at Warner Brothers, which I believe the man at the top was the Bonaventura, which is a great name, he must have looked at it and thought, they're hemorrhaging money in development time and they're not really making much progress. Other films are coming and going, and a lot of this crew have gone off to do various other projects, and this is always put on hold. How long can you keep supporting this film? They've had one writer after another, it seems, including, of course, Kevin Smith. Long-time researchers on this film will hear Kevin Smith's story involving the producer, John Peters, which is absolutely hilarious. And Tim Burton's other guys, which I believe was it Wesley, Strick, I think. And they still weren't getting anywhere with multiple people coming and going. Eventually they just had to pull the plug. And it's kind of a shame, because I think we're all curious, aren't we? And since then, and even recently, we've had other ideas. Wasn't there Black Superman, apparently developed by J.J. Abrams, which I'm not looking forward to. Never been a fan of J.J. Abrams. Wasn't Wolfgang Peterson supposed to be tackling the project, or was it Batman v Superman? And of course the eventual next Superman film was Superman Returns. And we went back to the classic look of Superman. Not a fan of the film, but I thought Brandon Routh was fantastic. Very much like Christopher Reeve, and kind of acted like him as well. It was uncanny, wasn't it? Now, the whole abandoned concept of Nick Cage as Superman, no matter how many times I say it, I still can't accept it. It's just become relevant again since the release of The Flash, that featured that digital image of Nick Cage in the suit fighting a giant spider. And Nick Cage has since said in interview that that wasn't his performance. He was there in the suit, assuming he would be de-aged. But what we saw in The Flash wasn't his performance that he gave. It was a CG representation of his face playing that character. But all in all, this documentary just gives us a little window into the difficulties of making a movie, and that everything has to come together, and all the money that's involved, and all the disagreements. Warner's already cancelled, is it Batgirl, which is almost completed, so we know they're trigger happy. They know they've got to take that risk and develop something that the fans want. We almost got there with Man of Steel and the other Snyderverse films, which I quite liked. They weren't perfect, and they weren't retreading what we saw before. And nor would Superman Lives. Would have been a unique film, that's for sure. And it all comes through in Jon Schnepp's amazing documentary. Again, what I think he's uncovered here is nothing short of a miracle. And the fact that all these drawings and models, or some of the models, are still out there is astonishing. Wasn't it that Skull Ship model that they had to find? And he found it. We could actually look at it. I'm admiring what I'm seeing, but I'm also scratching my head and wondering, how would this fit into any story? Even the suit itself, with all the lights and the strobe effects running through it. Now, I get that was supposed to be a regeneration suit, because at some point in the story, Superman dies, which mirrors the 90s comic book story. And also for a time, around the 90s, Superman had long hair. So this whole concept and the huge departure from what we're used to, we could have got it. But unfortunately, we will never know. So, for a score, I have to give this 5 stars. It's just an amazing documentary, on a par with RoboDoc, that's just gone so deep into a film's production and uncovered so much. A lot of what we see here is gold. Whether it's real gold or fool's gold, you can take your pick. And it's still hard to believe that we almost got a film bringing us Nicolas Cage as Superman. Thanks for joining me for this review. And just a word on Jon Schnepp, the creator. He sadly passed away in 2018. I always enjoyed watching his, reviews, commentaries and opinions on movies. And he's left us with this absolute gift, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. Speak soon. All the best. Take care.